The Great Hall of the Federation Council was silent. 217 species sat in their assigned seats, their many eyes fixed on the central platform where High Chancellor Zorvath stood. His gray skin had turned pale, almost white, and his 4 arms hung limp at his sides. In his long career, he had never looked so defeated. "The vote is complete," Zorvath said, his voice barely above a whisper. "By unanimous decision, the Federation Council hereby bans all military action against the planet known as Earth. Any species that violates this ban will face immediate expulsion from the Federation and loss of all trade rights." A low murmur spread through the chamber. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Others simply stared at the floor, unable to meet the eyes of their neighbors. The shame in the room was thick enough to taste. Ambassador Krell of the Vortani Empire leaned toward his aide. "How did this happen?" he asked. "We are the masters of the galaxy. We have conquered 10,000 worlds. How did one small planet defeat us?" His aide, a young female with bright purple scales, shook her head. "The reports are still coming in, Ambassador, but from what we understand, the humans were unexpected." Krell made a sound of disgust. "Unexpected? Is that what we are calling it now?" 3 months earlier, the Federation had made first contact with humanity. The encounter had been accidental. A Crethan mining ship had stumbled upon Earth while searching for rare minerals in an unexplored sector of the galaxy. The Crethans had reported back to the Federation Council with excitement. "A primitive species," the Crethan captain had said. "They have only recently achieved space travel. Their weapons are crude. Their ships are slow. They would make excellent workers for our mining operations." The council had agreed. Earth was small and far from any major trade routes. Its people had no allies, no advanced technology, and no way to defend themselves against the might of the Federation. The conquest would be simple. High Chancellor Zorvath had assigned the task to the Drexian Collective, known throughout the galaxy as the most efficient military force in existence. The Drexians had never lost a war. Their fleet of 10,000 ships had conquered entire star systems in a matter of days. Earth would fall within hours. That was what everyone had believed. The Drexian commander, a veteran named General Throck, had led his fleet to Earth with supreme confidence. His ships dropped out of hyperspace just beyond the moon, their weapons charged and ready. On his command ship, Throck watched the blue planet grow larger on his viewscreen. "Beautiful," he had said. "It will make a fine addition to our collection. Begin the invasion." The first wave of landing craft descended toward Earth's surface. They carried 50,000 Drexian soldiers, each one trained from birth for combat. Their armor could stop most projectiles. Their weapons could level buildings with a single shot. They expected no resistance. What they found was something else entirely. The humans had somehow detected the Drexian fleet hours before its arrival. Their primitive satellites had spotted the energy signatures, and their leaders had made a decision. They would fight. When the Drexian landing craft touched down outside a major human city, they were met not by terrified civilians, but by organized military forces. The humans wore strange cloth uniforms that offered no protection. Their weapons were simple metal tubes that fired small metal projectiles. By all logic, they should have been slaughtered. Instead, the Drexians found themselves in the fight of their lives. The human soldiers did not retreat. They did not surrender. When their weapons ran empty, they fought with knives. When their knives broke, they fought with their hands. They threw themselves at the Drexian lines with a ferocity that stunned the invaders. General Throck received the first reports with confusion. "What do you mean, we are taking losses? Their weapons are primitive." "Sir, their weapons may be primitive, but they are effective," his lieutenant replied. "Those metal projectiles move faster than anything we have ever seen. Our armor cannot stop them all. And the humans, they do not behave like any species we have conquered before." "Explain." "They do not run, sir. Even when they are wounded, they continue to fight. We have seen individuals with fatal injuries still firing their weapons until the very last moment, and they work together in ways we did not expect. They communicate constantly, adjusting their tactics. It is as if they have been preparing for this their entire lives. Throck dismissed the concerns. Send more troops, they are only animals, they will break eventually. But the humans did not break. The Federation had made its first mistake. It had assumed that a species with inferior technology would be easy to defeat. This assumption was based on thousands of years of galactic history. Every other species the Federation had encountered had either surrendered immediately or been crushed within days of first contact. Technology always won. The humans, it seemed, had not received this message. As the days passed, the Drexian losses mounted. For every human they killed, they lost 5 of their own. The metal projectile weapons were devastatingly effective at close range, and the humans never, ever stopped fighting. "They are insane," one Drexian soldier transmitted back to the fleet before his death. "They throw themselves into battle as if dying is not a concern. I have seen human soldiers drag themselves across the ground with shattered legs to reach their weapons. I have seen them use their own bodies as shields to protect their comrades. They do not fight like a civilized species. They fight like animals." The word animals would soon take on a different meaning. General Throck, frustrated by the lack of progress, ordered his fleet to begin orbital bombardment. If the ground troops could not pacify the humans, he would simply destroy them from space. He targeted the major cities, intending to demonstrate the futility of resistance. The first bombardment strike hit a coastal city called Shanghai. The plasma beams descended from the sky, destroying buildings and killing millions in an instant. Throck expected this show of force to break the human spirit. Instead, it made things worse. Within hours, the news of the attack had spread across the entire planet, and something changed in the humans. Before, they had been fighting to defend their homes. Now, they were fighting for revenge. The second mistake the Federation made was underestimating human determination. Ambassador Krell had been reviewing the battle reports for days, trying to understand what had gone wrong. The statistics were impossible. The Drexian military was the most powerful force in the galaxy. Their technology was centuries ahead of anything the humans possessed, and yet, somehow, they were losing. "Look at this," Krell said to his aide, pointing at a data screen. "The humans have adapted their tactics 12 times in the past week. 12 times. The Drexians have never faced an enemy that learned so quickly." His aide nodded. "There is more, Ambassador. The humans have begun to capture Drexian equipment. At first, they used it without modification, but within days they had figured out how to improve it. They are combining our technology with their own in ways we never anticipated." "That is impossible. It takes years to understand alien technology." "For most species, yes, but the humans appear to be different. Their scientists work in constant communication across their entire planet. When one team learns something, they share it with everyone else immediately. It is a level of cooperation we have never seen." Krell stared at the screen, a cold feeling spreading through his chest. What are these creatures? The answer, it seemed, was more terrifying than anyone had imagined. In the council chamber, High Chancellor Zorvath continued his speech. His voice had grown stronger, but there was no pride in it, only the grim acceptance of defeat. "Let the records show that on this day, the Federation Council acknowledges the sovereignty of Earth and its people. We will not attempt to conquer them again. We will not threaten them. We will not engage them in any hostile action. Any species that violates this decree will face the full consequences of Federation law." He paused, his 4 eyes sweeping across the assembled delegates. "Let us be clear about why we are doing this. It is not because we are generous. It is not because we believe in peace. It is because we have no choice. The humans have shown us that they cannot be defeated by conventional means. Any further military action against Earth would result in the complete destruction of whatever force we send. A delegate from the Rix Confederacy raised a tentacle. High Chancellor, surely you exaggerate. The humans are a young species with primitive technology. How can they possibly threaten the entire Federation? Zorvath turned to face the delegate. His expression was grave. 3 weeks ago, the Drexian Collective sent their entire fleet to Earth. 10,000 ships, 200 million soldiers, the most powerful military force in the history of the galaxy. He paused. Yesterday, we received word that the last Drexian ship was destroyed. There are no survivors. The humans did not capture prisoners. They did not negotiate. They destroyed everything we sent against them down to the last soldier. The chamber fell silent. And that, Zorvath continued, is why we are banning aggression against Earth. Not because we choose to, because we have to. The vote was unanimous. Not a single species objected. They had all seen the reports. They had all understood what the humans were capable of. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The Drexian homeworld of Drex Prime was in mourning. Black banners hung from every building. The streets, usually filled with merchants and workers, were empty. The entire planet had stopped to grieve for the millions who would never return. In the capital city, the surviving members of the Drexian High Command gathered in an underground bunker. Their leader, Supreme Commander Veth, sat at the head of the table. His face was marked with fresh scars from a battle he had barely escaped. "How many survived?" he asked. One of his generals checked a data screen. "Approximately 30,000, Supreme Commander. Most of them were on supply ships that fled before the final battle." 30,000 out of 200 million. Veth closed his eyes. "We are ruined." "What do we do now, Supreme Commander?" Veth opened his eyes. They burned with a cold fire. Now we learn, we study these humans, we understand how they defeated us, and then when the time is right, we return." But as the weeks passed, the more Veth learned about the humans, the more his confidence faded. The reports from the surviving soldiers were terrifying. One soldier described watching a human female defend a building for 3 hours against a full Drexian assault team. She had been wounded multiple times, but she refused to stop fighting. When her weapon ran empty, she used it as a club. When the club broke, she picked up a piece of broken glass. She killed 7 Drexian soldiers before she finally fell. Another soldier described the human vehicles. They were primitive machines running on explosive liquid fuel, but the humans had modified them, adding armor and weapons. They drove these machines directly into Drexian formations, sometimes detonating them on purpose to cause maximum damage. "They sacrifice themselves," the soldier said in his report. "Not because they are ordered to, because they choose to. They see a chance to hurt us and they take it, even if it means their own death. I have never seen anything like it." The most disturbing reports came from the human cities. The Drexians had expected the civilian population to flee or surrender. Instead, every human who could hold a weapon joined the fight. Old ones, young ones, workers and professionals alike. They organized themselves into resistance groups, using their knowledge of the local terrain to ambush Drexian patrols. "They know every street, every building, every hidden path," one report stated. "When we clear an area, they disappear. Then when we move on, they return. We cannot hold any ground. We cannot rest. They are always watching, always waiting." Supreme Commander Veth read these reports with growing unease. He had conquered dozens of worlds. He had faced enemies with far superior technology, but he had never faced anything like the humans. "What are they?" he asked one of his scientists. The scientist, an elderly female named Sayla, pulled up a biological analysis on her screen. "Physically, they are unremarkable. They are carbon-based, oxygen-breathing with a standard bilateral body structure. Their brains are slightly larger than average for their body size, but not exceptional. Their senses are mediocre. Their strength and speed are nothing special. Then how did they defeat us? Sayla hesitated. We believe it has to do with their evolutionary history, Supreme Commander. Unlike most intelligent species, humans evolved as pursuit predators. Pursuit predators. Yes, most predators on their planet attack in bursts. They strike quickly and then rest. But humans evolved to hunt by chasing their prey over long distances, sometimes for days at a time. They would follow an animal until it collapsed from exhaustion, then kill it. Veth frowned. I do not see how this is relevant. It is relevant because of what this evolutionary path created. Humans are optimized for endurance and persistence. They can continue fighting long after any other species would have given up. Their bodies can adapt to almost any conditions. They can survive injuries that would kill most of us. And most importantly, they never, ever stop. Never stop. In human history, there is a concept called a total war. It is when a human society commits every available resource to a conflict. All industry is redirected to military production. All citizens contribute to the war effort. Nothing is held back. They have done this multiple times in their past, and when they do, they are nearly unstoppable. Veth stared at the screen for a long moment. Are you telling me that we invaded a planet of tireless, persistent predators who are genetically incapable of giving up? Sayla nodded slowly. That is exactly what I am telling you, Supreme Commander. The implications were terrifying. Meanwhile, on Earth, the humans were celebrating their victory. But beneath the celebrations, the leaders of the world were meeting to discuss the future. They had won this battle, but they knew more enemies would come. In a secure bunker beneath a mountain, representatives from every major nation gathered around a massive table. At the center sat General Marcus Chen, the commander who had led the defense of Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, Chen said, we have achieved something unprecedented. We have defeated an alien invasion with technology that is centuries behind our enemy. But we cannot assume that this victory will keep us safe forever. A representative from Europe, a gray-haired woman named Dr. Elena Volkov, leaned forward. The general is correct. We captured significant amounts of alien technology during the battle. Our scientists are already studying it. Within months, we will begin to understand how it works. Within years, we may be able to build our own versions. That is not fast enough, said a man from the American delegation. What if they come back tomorrow? They will not come back tomorrow, Chen replied. Based on our intelligence, the Drexian fleet was the largest military force in this region of the galaxy. It will take them years to rebuild. We have time. Time for what? Chen smiled grimly. Time to prepare. Ladies and gentlemen, the galaxy now knows that Earth exists. They know what we are capable of. Some of them will fear us. Others will want revenge. Either way, we need to be ready. Dr. Volkov nodded. We are proposing the creation of a unified global defense force. All nations will contribute resources and personnel. We will combine the best of human ingenuity with captured alien technology. We will build a fleet that can protect our planet and, if necessary, take the fight to our enemies. The room fell silent as the representatives considered this proposal. It would mean unprecedented cooperation between nations that had been rivals for centuries. It would require sacrifices from everyone. Finally, a representative from China spoke. Before this invasion, we fought each other. We competed for resources, for power, for prestige. But when the aliens came, we united. We fought as one species, one people, and we won. He stood, his voice growing stronger. I say we continue what we started. Let us build something new. Not separate nations fighting for survival, but a single human civilization, working together to secure our place in the galaxy. One by one, the other representatives stood and voiced their agreement. The decision was made. humanity would unite. Back at the Federation Council, the news of Earth's unified government spread quickly. Some species viewed it with curiosity, others viewed it with alarm. Ambassador Krell received the update in his private quarters. He read it twice to make sure he understood correctly. They are unifying, all of them. His aide nodded. Every nation on their planet has agreed to join this new government. They are calling it the United Earth Defense Coalition. But they were fighting each other just decades ago. Their history is filled with internal conflicts. How can they suddenly cooperate? We do not know, Ambassador, but the humans appear to be capable of remarkable adaptation when faced with an external threat. Our analysts believe that our invasion actually accelerated their political development by centuries. Krell set down his data screen, so by attacking them we made them stronger. That appears to be the case. The ambassador walked to his window and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, on a small blue planet, a species of relentless predators was preparing for the next fight. They had defeated the most powerful military in the galaxy with primitive technology. What would they be capable of once they caught up? The thought kept Krell awake for many nights. 5 years had passed since the invasion. Earth had changed dramatically. The captured alien technology had been studied, understood, and improved. Human scientists, working together across the globe, had made breakthroughs that would have taken centuries under normal circumstances. The first human starship, the UES Unity, launched from a massive orbital facility above the planet. It was a hybrid design, combining human engineering principles with alien power systems. But it was not a copy of the Drexian ships. It was something new, something uniquely human. On the bridge of the Unity, Captain Sarah Torres looked out at the stars. She was a veteran of the invasion, one of the soldiers who had fought in the streets of Houston against the Drexian ground forces. Now she commanded a ship that could travel faster than light. "How does it feel?" asked her first officer, Commander James Okoro. "Strange," Torres admitted. 5 years ago I was hiding behind a burned-out car, shooting at alien soldiers with a rifle. Now I am commanding a starship. The galaxy has gotten a lot bigger. And a lot more dangerous." Torres nodded. "The Coalition Council has given us our orders. We are to patrol the outer reaches of the solar system, establish monitoring stations, and make contact with any alien vessels we encounter." "Make contact." "That is right, Commander. Not all aliens are our enemies. The Federation is made up of hundreds of species. Some of them might be willing to talk to us. But their first encounter would not be peaceful." 3 weeks into their patrol, the Unity detected an unidentified vessel approaching the solar system. It was moving slowly, as if trying to avoid detection. Torres ordered the ship to intercept. When they arrived at the coordinates, they found something unexpected. A small transport ship, heavily damaged, drifting without power. Life signs aboard. "What happened here?" Torres wondered aloud. "Scanning now," reported the ship's science officer. "The vessel is of Crethan design. It was the Crethans who first discovered Earth, if you recall. The damage appears to have been caused by weapons fire. Someone attacked this ship." "Survivors?" 12, possibly 15. They are in the cargo hold." Torres made a decision. "Prepare a boarding party. We are going to help them." When the human soldiers entered the Crethan vessel, they found a scene of horror. The ship had been attacked by pirates, a common threat in the unpatrolled regions of the galaxy. Most of the crew had been killed. The survivors were huddled in the cargo hold, expecting to die. Instead, they found themselves face to face with humans. The Crethans froze in terror. They knew what humans were capable of. They expected to be killed. What happened next would change the galaxy's perception of humanity forever. "My name is Captain Sarah Torres of the United Earth Defense Coalition," Torres said, her translator converting her words into the Crethan language. "You are safe now. Our medical team will treat your wounded. We will repair your ship or give you passage to a safe port." The Crethan leader, a male named Thex, stared at her in disbelief. "You are helping us, but your people. We are the ones who found your planet. We recommended that the Federation conquer you." Tors smiled grimly. "I know, I read the reports, but here is the thing, Thex. We are not in the business of punishing the weak. You are following your leader's orders. The people who made those decisions are not here. You are just workers trying to survive." "I do not understand. Any other species would kill us for what the Federation did to your planet." "Then consider this your first lesson about humans. We can be incredibly destructive when we are threatened, but we are not mindless killers. We believe in something called mercy. It means sparing those who cannot fight back." Thex was silent for a long moment. Then slowly he bowed his head. "Thank you, Captain. I will not forget this." Word of the rescue spread quickly through the galaxy. Some species dismissed it as human propaganda, but others took notice. The humans had shown that they could be merciful as well as deadly. Aboard the Federation Council ship that monitored the outer sectors, Ambassador Krell received the report with great interest. "Fascinating," he murmured. "They rescue their enemies." His aide shook her head. "It makes no sense. The Crethans are members of the Federation. By helping them, the humans are helping the same organization that tried to destroy them." "That is what makes it so clever," Krell replied. "The humans are sending a message. They are saying that they are not mindless monsters. They are capable of reason, of negotiation, of cooperation. They want the galaxy to know that they can be partners, not just threats." "Do you think the Council will listen?" Krell laughed bitterly. "The Council? No, they are too afraid, but the smaller species, the ones who have always lived under Federation control, they might start to see the humans differently." He was right. Over the next year, reports of human mercy spread through the galaxy. Ships that encountered human vessels in distress found themselves rescued, not attacked. Trade ships that strayed too close to human space were warned away, not destroyed. The humans even began to offer medical assistance to species whose own governments had abandoned them. It was a strategy that no one had expected. "They are building alliances," a Federation analyst reported to the Council. "Without firing a single shot, they are turning our own members against us. Species that once feared them are now curious. Some are even grateful." High Chancellor Zorvath shook his head. "We underestimated them once. We are doing it again. These humans, they are playing a longer game than we realized." The truth was even more complex than Zorvath understood. The humans were not just building alliances. They were studying the galaxy, learning its power structures, identifying weaknesses. They knew that they could not defeat the entire Federation in open combat, but they could undermine it from within. On Earth, the Coalition Council was meeting to discuss the next phase of their strategy. General Chen, now one of the most respected leaders in the government, presented the latest intelligence. "The Federation is not as unified as it appears," he explained. "Most of its member species were conquered, just like they tried to conquer us. They are members because they had no choice. If we can show them that there is another way." "Another way?" asked one of the council members. "An alternative to the Federation. A coalition of species based on mutual respect and cooperation, not on fear and conquest." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "You are talking about building our own interstellar organization," Dr. Volkov said, "a rival to the Federation itself." "Yes," Chen replied, "that is exactly what I am talking about." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some argued that the plan was too risky, that humanity should focus on defense rather than expansion. Others insisted that defense alone would never be enough, that they needed to actively shape the galactic order. In the end, the decision was made. Humanity would reach out to the oppressed species of the galaxy. They would offer partnership, protection, and freedom. They would build something new. The galaxy was about to change. 10 years after the invasion, humanity had become a force to be reckoned with. The United Earth Defense Coalition had grown into something larger, the Alliance of Free Worlds. 17 species had joined, each one a former member of the Federation who had chosen to break away. The Alliance was not a military power in the traditional sense. Its fleet was small compared to the Federation's remaining forces, but its influence was growing every day. At the center of this new order was humanity. Their ships patrolled the borders of Alliance space, protecting member worlds from piracy and aggression. Their diplomats traveled to countless planets, spreading the message of freedom and cooperation. Their scientists shared technology freely, helping their allies advance at a pace that stunned the Federation analysts. On the planet Krethos, formerly known as the mining colony world of the Krethan people, a ceremony was taking place. The Krethans had been one of the first species to join the Alliance, grateful for the mercy shown to their stranded civilians years ago. Ambassador Thex, the same male who had been rescued by Captain Tors, stood before a crowd of thousands. Behind him, the flag of the Alliance flew next to the flag of Krethos. "Today we celebrate our freedom," Thex declared. "For generations our people lived under the boot of the Federation. We mined their ore, built their ships, and died in their wars. We had no choice. We had no hope." He paused, his eyes scanning the crowd. Then the humans came, and everything changed. The crowd cheered. They showed us that it is possible to stand against tyranny. They showed us that kindness can be stronger than cruelty. They took us in when we were lost and afraid, and they gave us the chance to be free. He raised his hand, and the crowd fell silent. "Today I am proud to announce that Krethos has completed its first starship. It was built by Krethan workers, using Krethan materials, following designs shared freely by our human allies. This ship will protect our world, it will defend our people, and it will carry our message to every corner of the galaxy. Freedom is possible. You are not alone." The unveiling of the Krethan starship was broadcast across Alliance space, but it was also intercepted by Federation intelligence. In the council chamber on the Federation capital, High Chancellor Zorvath watched the broadcast with mounting concern. "This is worse than we feared," he said to his advisors. "They are not just building an alliance. They are teaching their members how to build ships. If this continues, every world that joins them will become a military power." "We should attack them now," urged General Thrak, a young officer who had risen to command the remnants of the Drexian military, "before they grow any stronger." "Attack them?" Zorvath laughed bitterly. "With what forces? We lost our entire fleet 10 years ago. We have barely rebuilt a fraction of our military strength, and the humans have not been idle. Their technology has advanced significantly." "Then what do you suggest?" Zorvath was silent for a long moment. "We wait, we watch, and we prepare. The humans will make a mistake eventually. They are still young, still inexperienced. When they stumble, we will be ready." But the humans did not stumble. Instead, they continued to grow stronger. On the 20th anniversary of the invasion, the Alliance of Free Worlds held its first General Assembly. Representatives from 43 species gathered on a space station orbiting Earth. They came from every corner of the galaxy, united by a common belief in freedom and cooperation. General Marcus Chen, now an elderly man with white hair and a weathered face, addressed the assembly. 20 years ago my species faced extinction. We were small, we were weak, we had no allies, but we had something that our enemies did not understand. We had each other." He looked out at the sea of alien faces. "We fought together, we sacrificed together, and we survived together. That is the lesson that Earth teaches. Not that strength comes from technology or numbers or resources. Strength comes from unity. Strength comes from standing with your brothers and sisters, no matter what species they may be. The assembly rose to their feet and applauded. Today, we are no longer alone. We are part of something greater, an alliance built on trust, on respect, on the simple idea that every thinking being has the right to be free. He raised his hand. Some say that we are too weak to challenge the Federation. Some say that we should hide, should wait, should hope that they leave us alone. But I say that we are done waiting. We are done hiding. We are the alliance of free worlds, and we will not be silenced. The applause grew louder. To our friends we offer partnership. To the oppressed we offer hope. And to our enemies we offer a simple warning. We are not the same species you tried to conquer 20 years ago. We have learned. We have grown. And we are ready for whatever comes next. The assembly erupted in cheers that echoed through the station. Across the galaxy, billions watched the broadcast. For many, it was the first time they had heard a leader speak of freedom without fear. The Federation Council watched as well, and for the first time, they began to understand just how badly they had miscalculated. Ambassador Krell, now an elderly diplomat approaching the end of his career, sat alone in his quarters. He had spent 20 years studying the humans, trying to understand them. Now, at last, he thought he knew the truth. They were not monsters. They were not mindless killers. They were something far more dangerous. They were builders. The Federation had been built on conquest. It expanded by force, absorbed new species through violence, maintained control through fear. It was the only model of interstellar civilization that the galaxy had ever known. But the humans had created something different. They had built an alliance based on choice, on mutual benefit, on shared values. Species joined not because they were forced to, but because they wanted to. And once they joined, they became stronger, not weaker. It was a revolution, and Krell suspected that there was no way to stop it. He picked up his data pad and began to compose a message to the High Chancellor. It was time to consider a new approach. The era of the Federation is ending, he wrote. A new power is rising in the galaxy, and it cannot be defeated by the methods we have used before. If we wish to survive, we must adapt. We must change. And perhaps we must admit that we were wrong. He sent the message and leaned back in his chair. The galaxy was changing. The age of conquest was ending, and humanity, against all odds, had led the way. 50 years after the invasion, the galaxy had transformed beyond recognition. The alliance of free worlds now encompassed 173 species, spanning a quarter of known space. The Federation, weakened by defections and internal strife, had shrunk to a shadow of its former self. The final crisis began with a simple message. On the morning of the anniversary, a transmission was sent from the Federation capital to the Alliance headquarters. It was marked as urgent, classified at the highest level. The message was short: "We wish to negotiate." In the Alliance Council chamber, the representatives gathered to discuss the unprecedented communication. Some were suspicious, believing it to be a trap. Others were hopeful, seeing it as a chance to end the Cold War that had lasted for decades. Admiral Sarah Torres, now the commander of the Alliance fleet, sat at the head of the table. Her hair had turned gray, and her face was lined with age, but her eyes were as sharp as ever. "The Federation has been declining for years," she said. "Their economy is failing. Their member species are restless. They have nothing to gain from continuing this standoff." "That is precisely why we should be cautious," argued Ambassador Thex, now the senior diplomat of the Crethan delegation. "A wounded predator is the most dangerous kind." "Perhaps," Torres agreed, "but we cannot ignore this opportunity. If the Federation is willing to negotiate in good faith, we may be able to end this conflict without further bloodshed." The debate continued for hours. In the end, a decision was made. The Alliance would send a diplomatic delegation to meet with Federation representatives on neutral ground. The meeting was held on a small moon in the space between Alliance and Federation territory. Admiral Tors led the Alliance delegation. High Chancellor Zorvath himself, now ancient and frail, represented the Federation. They met in a simple chamber, surrounded by guards from both sides. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Zorvath spoke first. His voice was weak, but his words were clear. 50 years ago, I made the worst decision of my career. I authorized the invasion of Earth. I believed that your species was primitive, insignificant, easily conquered. I was wrong. He paused, gathering his strength. Since then, I have watched your species rise from the ashes of our attack. I have watched you build an alliance that rivals our own. I have watched you change the galaxy. Tors remained silent, waiting for him to continue. I am an old male, Admiral. I have ruled the Federation for over a century. I have seen empires rise and fall. And I have learned one thing above all else. Change is inevitable. Those who resist it are swept away. Those who embrace it survive. He met her eyes. The Federation as I knew it is finished. We cannot compete with your alliance. We cannot stop the spread of freedom. Our only choices are to adapt or to die. And what adaptation do you propose? Tors asked. Zorvath reached into his robes and produced a data crystal. He placed it on the table between them. The complete records of our civilization. Every technology, every discovery, every piece of knowledge we have accumulated over millennia. I offer it to you freely, with no conditions. Tors stared at the crystal, stunned. Why? Because I want my species to survive. The Federation may be dying, but the Veth people are not. If we share what we know, perhaps there is a place for us in your new order. If we hoard our knowledge and go down fighting, we will be forgotten. The room was silent for a long moment. Then Tors reached out and took the crystal. The Alliance does not seek revenge, she said. We never have. All we ever wanted was the chance to live in peace, to grow, to reach for the stars without fear. If the Federation is willing to join us in that dream, we will welcome you. Zorvath nodded slowly. Then let us begin. The negotiations that followed lasted for months. They were difficult, contentious, marked by centuries of distrust on both sides. But in the end, an agreement was reached. The Federation would dissolve. Its member species would be free to choose their own futures. Some would join the Alliance. Others would form their own independent governments. The age of forced empire was over. On the day the treaty was signed, Admiral Tors stood on the observation deck of her flagship. She looked out at the stars, the same stars she had dreamed of reaching when she was a young soldier fighting in the streets of Houston. We did it, said Commander Okoro, now an elderly man standing beside her. We actually did it. Not just us, Tors replied. Billions of beings across the galaxy. Humans, Crethans, Veth, and 100 other species. They all did their part. What happens now? Tors smiled. Now we explore, now we build, now we reach for the stars together. She turned to face her old friend. 50 years ago, we were alone. We were scared. We were fighting for our survival against an enemy we did not understand. And we won. Not because we were the strongest or the smartest or the best equipped. We won because we refused to give up, because we worked together, because we believed that we could make something better. She looked back at the stars. That is the lesson of humanity, James. That is what we taught the galaxy. And now, at last, it is time to see where that lesson takes us. The flagship turned toward unexplored space. Behind it, the lights of 1,000 worlds shone in the darkness. The age of fear had ended. The age of hope had begun. And humanity, the species that had once been dismissed as primitive and insignificant, had led the way. In the great hall of what had once been the Federation Council, a new assembly gathered. Representatives from over 200 species sat together, not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals. They spoke of trade, of science, of art, of all the things that made life worth living. And above them, carved into the walls of the chamber, was a new motto, chosen by unanimous vote. We rise by lifting others. It was the lesson that a small blue planet had taught to the stars. It was the legacy of humanity. And it would endure forever.